Is that gonna work? I'm back. I'm back. I'm trying to be back. So I definitely think that I was pushing the camera too far with the resolution I had it at, and I'm trying again, and we're gonna try this now. First of all, oh god, there's still that delay. That really sucks. At least it's not as bad. At least it's not as bad. It seems to not be as bad. Is it as bad? A little. There's less of a delay, which I think is workable. So what I'm gonna start doing today, which feels like a little bit, I'm gonna start with some heads. I've got 3 heads that need to be painted, or that I'm going to paint. I think the first one is I'm going to have to start with Captain Titus. So, unfortunately, because, oh my goodness, these are so tiny, I'm going to do my best with them, and we're going to see what we can do. Yeah, sorry about that weird delay, but we're going to go ahead and try and make this work. So, I've got Titus's full retinue, which is, you know, the Ultramar characters, or the Titus's retinue. I forget what they're called for the life of me. But, I've got those guys, and then I've got the Victrix Honor Guard, which are also going to get quite a bit done to them. So we're going to see how all this works, and we're going to see if I'm able to make it work. And then potentially tomorrow, I'm going to come down here and mess around with the settings for the camera and make it work better, because I moved it down from my ceiling mount thinking that maybe that would get better clarity of picture. And all it seems to do is make it so that I can't get a good perspective shot, and everything just kind of looks bad. But we're going to try this today. Yep, there's my hands. Okay, so that is kind of working. I can do that. That should be fine. So the first thing I think I want to do for Mr. Captain Titus is we're going to go ahead. Oh, there's his tiny little head. No, that's not Titus. That's Gadriel. We'll leave Gadriel. No, you know what? We'll go ahead and do Gadriel first. We're going to go ahead and hit him with kind of a darker color. I think in his case, I'm going to go with a dark brown. And we're going to see if we can work our way up from there. From the dark brown up to a fleshier tone, possibly a slightly paler, yellower tone. Because the box art seems to have him have this really pallid complexion. And I think it almost makes him look a little deathly, but I don't know. We're going to see how this works out. So first, I guess I'm going to go ahead and start with some of that dark umber, because that happens to be the default dark brown I use for everything. And we'll move up from there. But yeah, this was a project I don't want to say I've been waiting on it, but I have been anticipating working on this for quite a while now, since I found out that a client has been kind of wanting to do this for weeks, months now. And when I actually went to go pick them up and meet with him, I was told by the store owner that they had been keeping these in the back for a really long time, and he kept asking him, you know, should I put them out on the shelf? Should I put them out on the shelf? And eventually he was able to purchase them, so good for him, I suppose. But yeah, this has been a long time coming. He told me about this project many months ago, and so I'm glad that he was finally able to be in a position where he could afford the product. He can afford these models, and he can go ahead and start building his Ultramarines army, which, from what I understand, is one of his big goals of Warhammer. Because he started, I believe, with Grey Knights, and then he moved into Custodes, and he's kind of bounced around a bit and looked at what he's liked and what he's not liked, but I think after playing Space Marine 2 and the like, he's been very interested in doing a... Oh yeah, he also has a Dark Angels army, I forgot about that. But he's been interested in doing an Ultramarines army. Which, you know, them being the ones we see the most in the lore, I can understand why he'd want to see some of the coolest models get painted up and used on the tabletop, you know? But yeah, like I said, we're going to go ahead and start with just this dark brown to get him started, to act as shadows for when we eventually work up later. And I think... I haven't done faces like this in a while, and definitely not with this level of precision, but I think what's going to end up happening is I'm going to end up switching over to a much finer brush almost immediately, because this guy's face is pretty intimately detailed, and I want to give Gadriel all of the attention and credit he deserves, because he's a very cool model, and I'm being paid a lot of money to do this well. That being said, I hope things are going well for you guys. This one has been a fun one to try and learn that I get to do. Okay. So we're moving on. What I think I'm going to move to in this case is I've got this, it's tan flesh from Pro Acryl, and I really like Pro Acryl's paints in general. I think they just go on well, and I love the fact that they are so, for the most part, they are so incredibly, like, this is weird, but liquid, and that just makes it so that they flow well, they blend well, they go through an airbrush really well, which I think is pretty freaking cool. So they're just incredibly good at doing the things you need from good paint. You know what I mean? So we're going to mix this a little bit with the dark umber. And this is going to kind of build up to a shadow for him. And hopefully I'll be able to do this well enough. Thankfully, since it's only a shadow color, it doesn't need to be perfect. Or since we're still building up from a shadow color. Now, the biggest thing, and something that's helped me get better at painting, and that's become kind of a thing that I've been focusing on a lot, is actually moisture control in the brush. Because I think I've talked about this before, but it basically dictates whether you end up painting, you know, with good clean strokes and paint that goes on smoothly, and just big old globs of coffee stains. And that's one of the biggest things I noticed when I started actually seeing what I was doing and getting better at what I was doing, was that if you have too much moisture on your brush, then it just ruins any level of control that you might be trying to have. So if you can get the right amount of moisture, right amount of liquid in your brush, it's going to make your painting a whole lot better once you learn to control that. So hopefully I'll be okay with this. And like right now, because of how much paint, how much of the khaki or the tan flesh paint I've got on here, it's kind of starting to override and become a second layer, which is neat. I didn't mean for that to happen, but it looks like it's basically allowing me to create highlights without having to go back to the palette. Now, one thing I did read, which I thought was kind of cool, was that you're really not supposed to use a wet palette. They discourage use of a wet palette with Pro Acryl because their paint is already so well blended that you'd actually just end up making it too runny. And after using it for a little while, I see exactly what they mean. If you, and now I get to go down to the smaller brush. If you start with Pro Acryl, it's already well mixed and well blended, and it really doesn't need to be watered down or thinned down a whole lot because it's already so smooth. Okay. Now this is explicitly what I bought this brush for. This is a Monument Hobbies Pro Synthetic. It's normally not especially expensive, but for what it is, it's a brush with a good tip that's allowing me to kind of be a lot more precise with my brush strokes. And that should help a little bit with the detail. And honestly, I've been pretty impressed with this brush so far. I've been kind of babying it because it was a $10 synthetic brush, and it's just like I don't want it to, you know, wear down too badly over misuse. But at the same time, it's equipment. You've got to use the equipment you buy at some point. So what it is doing is it's giving me considerably better control than that larger brush I was just using, which used to be my precision brush up until I kind of ruined it. And while I still use it for most precision work, it's definitely at a point where it's lost its fine tip, and I can't really use it for some of the stuff I want to, because it doesn't have that super fine tip that I can use for like making eyes or for doing super fine lines, kind of like what I'm doing with him right now. And so I use it for some detail work, but not all the detail work. And I've actually still got a Kolinsky Sable Winsor & Newton brush waiting in the wings to eventually use on like a big old project. And honestly, depending on how this goes, I might end up switching to it because it is a really good brush. And it definitely has that ultra fine tip you're looking for in a good brush. Okay, now I figure for the scar tissue here, we're going to want to actually give him a lot of prominence and let the shadows run deep. So I'm not actually going to be touching it a whole lot with the tan flesh. Same with up here. I want to keep his forehead wrinkles, his like furrowed brow intact. And I want to keep the shadows I've developed still there. And there's going to be another level of highlights because Gadriel's skin, like I said, it definitely comes across as a little more pale, a little more sallow than some of the other guys. But what we're seeing on that first pass, which I think is kind of neat, is that it kind of kept the thin, brownish, pale palette color. And now with the second one, we're starting to get a little bit more of the tan flesh coming through. And you can kind of see it on this side versus this side. I'm not sure if the light is so much that it's preventing that from happening, but I'm definitely noticing it from where I am. Okay. A little bit there. And again, we're going to actually focus the highlight closer to the middle of his forehead because, you know, with him facing forward, that's going to be where most of the light is going to hit, as opposed to further away. And I gotta say, once again, especially because I haven't really used it for a lot of precise work like this, but I'm pretty impressed with this brush's ability to maintain a tip. Because that's always one of the biggest things about a good brush is, can it hold a tip? Because if it can't, then it's not going to be able to do precise work, and for a lot of people who are looking for that kind of control, it's not super useful. But so far, this has been doing a pretty okay job. So I gotta say I'm happy about that. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit that eyeball, or eyebrow, which I might have hit a little too hard, but that's okay, we'll go back over it with the eyeball. Okay, let's breathe some life into that skin, give it some more natural pallor, because what ended up happening, and this was entirely unintentional, is that his face kind of took on this like very dark, corpse-ish, deathly pallor. So I'm going to try and work away from that a little bit. Let's see what we can do here. Yeah, I might have gone a little too dark in some of these spots and left them to linger. Something that I'm still trying to learn about flesh is that you've got to have parts of the flesh kind of connecting into each other. If you paint each of the raised parts separately, it ends up giving them a very blocky look, and that might not be what you're going for. So you don't want to paint each individual abdominal muscle separately, and you don't want to paint each individual crease in his face separately, right? Because it's going to create these this area of separation that isn't really there. And it's going to make them look really segmented in a way that humans aren't segmented. So hopefully, through some of my finagling just now, I was able to give him a slightly more human-looking face. Hey, the Mighty Yellowson, how's it going? You were the one watching my Look Outside stream last week before it crashed, and then restarted like immediately. So I'm sorry that happened. I have no idea what caused it. I ended up playing for I think another hour, half hour, and I got decently far. I plan on picking it up again later on this week, because that game is super neato. Oh my goodness. I need to get a different setup for my camera, because right now my camera is my cell phone that's just kind of hanging out over my head, and because of my headphones, it's just kind of bonking it. Okay. So we got him up to more of a ruddy facial feature, because he was, oh my god, now he's completely out of focus. The painting, it just kind of started. This is a commission piece. I ended up getting Titus's crew and 2 sets of Victrix Honor Guard for a client. And he wants Titus and his crew painted up to like display painting level. So I'm really trying to focus in and get the details down to make the faces and everything look as hyper detailed and have a lot of contrast and all that fun stuff. And the Victrix Honor Guard, he doesn't want to be that level of detail, so I'll be able to be a little more fast and loose with that. But right now, this is Gadriel. He's the Space Marine Ancient, the guy with the flag that comes with Titus, and they gave him kind of a gray pallor in the original, or in the box art, and I don't want to do that. So he's going to be a little bit paler, but he's not going to be deathly looking. And so I've been working my way up from like a dark brown. My goodness, it needs to stay in focus. And he's going to go up to, I'm adding a little bit of ice yellow to act as a highlight. So hopefully that will help a little bit with bringing out some of his, some of the skin on him. And that'll give him a little bit more brightness to him than the pallor that they wanted to give him in the box art. Now, one issue that I have been having, and it's been frustrating me, is that my camera rig, I clearly need to improve my camera rig, because the system I have right now, it kind of moves on its own, gravity happens. I might have had it too long, and so it can't really hold itself up the way it used to. But at the same time, my head keeps bumping into it. It's clearly way too low. And that's just causing a bunch of little mild issues with me trying to position my head, trying to position the model. And I think you can probably tell, one of the other issues I'm really starting to have is that the camera can't seem to stay in focus. And that's also making life a little difficult for anyone who might want to watch this, because they're just going to see the focus pulsing. And that can't be fun to have to watch. Okay, so we're gonna... And again, just kind of hitting some highlights with this ice yellow mix, because I don't want to brighten every part of him, just certain aspects to really draw out the features on his face. So here's hoping I can do that successfully. Now, I will be honest, I know for a fact that unless I really screw the pooch on this, the client's going to like it, because I've known them for a while, and they were impressed with my work before I was this good. It's been a couple years since they've commissioned me, and there we go. And I've grown considerably as a painter since then, and so hopefully I'll be able to really wow them with the job I'm going to do on this guy, on these guys. And I guess the other fun part is that they told me to take my time with it, because they did realize this was going to be hefty, but they hadn't done the math themselves. And then when I kind of told them the bill, they were like, oh, well, maybe we ought to wait a little while before I get these to you. And my honest reaction was, no, I want to work on them now, and I will work on them now if you'll let me. I know where you work, so I'm not too worried about payment. But yeah, so unfortunately I'm starting to white him out, but this is what we got so far. And I'm actually pretty happy with that. That looks pretty darn good. What I'm going to do now, though, is I want to make his scar stand out, because I think it's a neat one. So Gadriel is going to be getting some battle damage to that side of his face. So what I'm actually doing right now is I'm going to take some mahogany, because it's this kind of reddish purple. And we're going to take that and put it inside his scar on the side of his face. And then we're going to take a little bit of bold Purol red, which is an incredibly vibrant red, and we're going to put that on top of it to make it look angry. Thank you, Sindarius. Yeah, I got the camera working. So the issue, as it turned out, is that as much as I wish it would, I can't stream at 1080p 60 frames per second, because that just slows down the data so much. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this bold, or this, not bold Purol red, this mahogany into here to kind of make the scar look a little bit more alive. Same with up here, because the scar does seem to want to go through here. And so what can happen with this now is that once the camera focuses, is that we can see that he's, like the wound, it's not fresh, but it definitely has a little more character than just being a line on his face. And so I'm going to do it again just to kind of see if I can extend the border just a little bit. And I'm going to put him down one more again so that I can do the next step, which is, this is one of my favorite colors, and if you guys watch me paint or have watched me paint, you'll have known this already. But bold Purol red is like the reddest red to ever red a red. as strange as that sounds. So if you ever want to get just like an incredibly bombastic, vibrant red on your model, go with bold Pyrrole Red. It might not always be what you need, but when you use it, it is always going to be a highlight of your model. I was mentioning earlier, was a friend brought a massive 40k lot off of eBay. That's awesome. What stuff was in there? What kind of fun, cool things were in this massive lot that your friend got? Because like a massive lot can be many things, right? It can be a single army that's huge. It can be a ton of little things. It can. So I'm curious, what is this massive lot? Okay, so bold Pyrrole Red is going to go in there. Go right there. And yeah, I'm not sure if you can really see it, but lots of Marines. Oh boy. And if I remember right, you've got like an Imperial Fist Alpha Legion combination that you've been working with. So you're gonna have a lot of fun with that. And like there, you can kind of see it there, but the red on him, it's so vibrant. So that's what I wanted to go for. I wanted to make it look like something you can't ignore when you're looking at the model. So that's what we got for him. The next thing, I actually need to check something. Let me check something. I'll be right back. I'm checking something. Okay, it looks like they just gave him straight up... Oh no, they made it blue. Okay. So they went ahead and made the headpiece around him blue. Like Firstborn. Your friend only wants Primaris. That's fair. I still want to get a Firstborn army. Like, I want to make a small 1,000 points or so of just Firstborn Marines and Dreadnoughts and the like. Because the Firstborns do look super cool. Okay, so we're going to switch back over to the other brush, because I don't need that kind of precision again. And the one thing I've noticed, at least from my work, is that the more I use the precise brushes and things they don't need to be used on, the more I ruin them. So we're not going to do that. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this deep blue with my other brush, and I'm just going to start going around to kind of present that his head guard or his neck harness is blue. Now, one thing that is definitely helping is that the lighting I've got looks absolutely fantastic, and it's really bright and vibrant, so it's making everything I do kind of extend out more in terms of vibrancy. My models are actually not going to be this clear, have this kind of color clarity when I take them out of this situation. And I think Gadriel has black hair, so we're going to go... Half the Firstborn wore Imperial Fist. Oh man, you lucky son of a gun. You're going to repaint the 70-ish Marines in my Imperial Fist scheme, flip them on eBay, and split the earnings with your friend. Very cool. Seems like a good time. I've actually thought of doing that recently because I painted up an Inquisitor. I painted up the Inquisitor that was like a Warhammer Plus thing. Inquisitor Ostromondius, I think his name was. And I ended up selling him for more than almost more than twice of what he was worth. And it just made me think, why don't I do that? Why haven't I started like grabbing eBay lots, or not even eBay lots, but just like used models and painting them up to as close to box art as I can get them, and then selling them on eBay. Because I feel like I could make some good money doing that. Especially since I found out that there's a place nearby that sells used models. And so it's like, I can buy them for, you know, roughly 40% of what they're worth, and then flip them on, or paint them up real good, then flip them on eBay for 2 or 3 times their worth, or for the, you know, 2 or 3 times the box art, and make some pretty darn good money off of that. So I'm very strongly considering doing that and seeing how that'll work. Okay, so now he's got black hair, and what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go back to the tiny brush, and we're going to add some of that blue back in, and that's just going to work as like subtle highlights on his hair. And then from there we can add even more subtle highlights with some lighter colors, and that will give his hair some depth that it otherwise wouldn't have. Because one of the biggest things about trying to do highlights or contrast with whites and black colors is that if you go with those, they're not really colors, they're shades, and you're just going to end up with very flat looking darks and lights on them. So hopefully, by kind of doing this, I can give his hair and his head some life that'll make him a little more interesting to look at. And also, I think I need to find a way to get myself a Gadriel head, because as a fellow Asian, I feel like maybe if I were going to make a Space Marine hero, I'd want to do it to look something like me. I might sell some models I don't want for some extra cash, buy a vibro knife. I'm working on getting ready to do a Firstborn True Scale project. My goodness, that's a heady undertaking. If you decide to do that, good luck to you, and I wish you the best of it, because a Firstborn True Scale project seems nuts. Now, I did the lazy thing, and I bought STL. Well, I downloaded STLs that were a Firstborn True Scale, and they look pretty good. But at the same time, I just kind of gave up on that because I realized that none of them got it completely right. So maybe your method of doing it is going to be the way that gets you that Goldilocks of, like, they look exactly how I want with the weapons that I want, and et cetera, blah blah blah. But that was kind of my issue, is when I downloaded the like Fummelfinger, I think his name was. I don't know if he still does it or anything, but he had Firstborn True Scales that were I thought they were chunky and good, and then I started putting them together and I realized that the bolters they came with were so tiny in comparison, and it just made it look like they were holding toys, but not in like the flattering way that Space Marines tend to look like they're holding small human things when they're next to you know, what's the word I'm looking for? When they're next to guardsmen. It didn't quite look as good as I'd hoped it would. Okay. A little bit more of that yellow to brighten things back up, because I just want I want him to almost have frosted tips, which I think is really funny. But that's kind of what I'm going for here. Is just at the where the light would mostly hit it, which is up front. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. And that way, it kind of sells the fact that his hair has a little bit of oil, like natural oil in it. And I think that'll be good. A bunch of little subtle stuff. And that's kind of what this guy's paying for, is he's paying for the subtle. And so that's what I'm trying to give. I'm going to do his eyes next. And this might be something I go back to later when I don't have to worry about maneuvering around the camera. I might go ahead and come back and actually, no, this is not the right color. I want to use... Okay, so another thing. For the eyes, I don't normally use white. I use ivory. And that is because when people don't have fully white irises, I think it is. I always forget. But, you know, there's some warmth to it. So by doing ivory, I feel like I'm giving it that warmth and kind of cutting down at how stark the eyes can be. Because if you've ever noticed, when some people do eyes, because they're trying to get their minis done so they can play with them on the tabletop and make them look good. The sclera? I guess so. I don't know my eye anatomy very well. I don't know the eye anatomy. I think the sclera is the correct answer. But, yeah, the white parts. The whites of the eyes. I know they're called that, but they're not actually white. And when people make them white, it makes them look really stark. And at some times, it can make them look like they're frightened out of their mind. Okay, so I'm going to have to be very careful here. Or, you know, I can just beef it. That's fine. But yeah, let's see if I can get this other one. Unfortunately, because of how the light is, I can't see what I'm doing. His eyes are... This is going to sound really bad, but it's okay, I'm Korean. I was going to say his eyes are so narrow, I can't see what I'm doing. But it's also just that he's got such... his head is so tiny. Okay. Right? But yeah, I'm trying my best here, guys. I'm doing what I can. Okay, so now is the cleanup. And this is where, for a long time, my eyes were fine enough to be able to do this stuff. And I'm realizing, especially as I'm getting a little older, that maybe it's not so good. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do a little bit of cleanup, because I'm being paid very good money to do this right. That actually made it look so much better. That made it look so much better. Now this is the part that scares me, because now I get to go ahead and try and do the pupils. And if you've ever tried to do pupils, you know they're tough. But, I mean, I'm using a size 1 brush with a very fine point right now, and I can barely see what I'm doing. So we're going to have to guess. I think that got it. I'm going to have to get out a magnifier and really look at this again. I think I got it. I'll have to look at a magnifier and see how horribly I did, and then we'll go back to it. But he has eyes. He's pretty much ready to go. And that took a lot less time than I thought it was gonna. You know, and it probably is just because this was a first pass, and if someone were to go through and clean it up, it would look considerably better. But I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with how Gadriel turned out. I am tickled that they kind of already let us know what he's going to be after Space Marine 2, because he's part of Titus's personal retinue. Okay, focus. So, we know that he survives long enough to be part of the end game for 10th edition. At which point Titus is a captain, no longer a lieutenant again. And so you probably can't see it because of how combination far away and tiny it is, and how blurry everything is, but what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to give just little faint highlights into his frame to just give a little bit of an idea of light hitting it, because that's what kind of makes these things feel more alive, is amplifying the contrast of light and dark, and really driving home that there is depth to these models in ways that toys wouldn't have. You know what I mean? And so I'm not that good at it yet. I'm still learning how to do a lot of this stuff, and I'm very happy to do so. But there's some people who are so good with their shading and so good with their light placement that their models look like miniature realities. And I hope to someday be there, and I'm going to continue to be inspired by what I see. But there we go. Okay, have a good one, Cindarius. Thank you for stopping by. I'm going to enjoy continuing to paint these... I'm going to enjoy continuing to paint these faces. So this is going to be Gadriel. I'm probably going to do some cleanup on him later. I'm actually pretty darn happy with how he turned out. He looks haunted. Now that I look at him, he looks severely haunted. And I think I accidentally gave him a bit of a sneer, so he also looks upset. But that's okay. That'll be fine for now. I have a magnifier somewhere that I can do that with. Okay, so I think the next one that I'm going to do is Mataris, who already looks like he's seen some shit. So we're going to go ahead and paint this guy up. Now, Mataris is definitely darker skinned, and so we're going to have to play with that a little bit. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this dark brown, some of this black, and some of this mahogany, and I'm going to mix it together to try and get like a really deep shadow color. Because what I've been doing, there we go, what I've been doing is I primed them all black, and then I kind of sprayed over them with a with the same blue that I was going to use on their gosh darn it, look at that, come on. Okay, that's it. Big Angie. No, autofocus. Where are you, buddy? Come on. Okay, is it actually too close? Is that really why it's having such a hard time? Okay, that's too much. That's weird. I can't believe it's having such a hard time focusing on this guy. But anyway, I've been using kind of the blue that I used as the ultramarine shadow color for their armor. And so now I'm working off of that as the base for a lot of these guys' skin and their furs and everything else I can get a hold of. I'm kind of in awe at the camera's inability to capture this because, yeah, it's just... Okay, so... Do you not see the dude? Wow. I don't think it sees Mataris' head. Or Mataris' head. It's like the camera just can't find him. That's wild. In which case, I might give him this base layer and move on, because I don't want you guys to stare at a blurry camera all night. Okay. Music player, what are you doing? You just played this song. I love this song, but you don't need to play it twice in a row. The audience is going to kill me. What's going on here? Oh, I see. We have a double problem happening. First of all, no, we're not doing that. Remove selected. That's way too much. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Perfect. Okay, so what was happening was I forgot to put it on shuffle is what happened. Okay, Mataris, there you are. And I think this might work for what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so next, he's just going to get kind of a combination of mahogany and dark umber. And that should do it. Yeah, golly, it is really having a hard... I don't know, can you tell me how hard a time is it having with him right now? Because I feel like as I look over at the camera feed, he is extremely, extremely blurry. And I think a lot of that is because it's such a tiny model, and also because of the camera just struggling really hard with focusing on something that actually, honestly, isn't that close. But I guess it's close enough to be a problem. Does it have to be that far back, really? My goodness, imagine that just staring at you from a distance. A disembodied floating head. Okay, and contrary to what most people believe, people who present, or people with African presenting features, African American presenting features, aren't just brown. So giving him a little bit of warmth under there is going to help. And it's definitely going to make him look a whole lot more lifelike. So that's kind of the plan right now. And it's something that I remember seeing when I was first learning how to paint different skin. I wanted to make sure that I was doing it justice. And one of the things I had read about is that people were just kind of painting brown skin brown. And it was coming across as very flat and uninspired. And they were like, how can I do better jobs? Because I want these characters to look cool. I want them to have, you know, dynamic looking complexions and the like. And so that's where I started seeing like, oh, you don't just go with a brown, you've got to go with other colors that will help bring out the depth of color in their skin. So that's what I'm trying to do right now with him. And honestly, I think it's coming out pretty okay right now. Okay, so... I also think I probably should have done his right ear. So we're going to go ahead and hit that, and then switch back over to the colors I was using. Go ahead and hit further down to get that shadow. A little bit of mahogany and burnt umber. Give it a little bit of that highlight. There we go. Now, I don't remember. Mataris, if I recall properly, he was an older veteran, so he had more peppered hair, didn't he? He had a little more salt in there. So I think I'm going to have to remember to do that. When I'm actually doing his hair. Okay. Okay, some kind of thing here. Now, one thing I will be honest, I never really learned how to do is how to do bald heads. So, I'm just kind of guessing. We're just kind of guessing right now. Hoping that it all turns out okay. Okie dokie, yeah. I actually have 40k in Age of Sigmar models, but right now they reside in a box of shame. That's okay. That's most people's collection. They're called a pile of shame for a reason. So, what armies have you decided to start on? What armies are you interested in starting on? Like, what you got waiting for you to pick up the brush and have some fun? Because I get it. I've got a ton of stuff, too, that's just kind of sitting there waiting for me to be like, hey, put me together. Well, actually, no, I take that back. I've been really good about putting stuff together. I've been really bad about painting it. So I've got this little, it used to be a tray that I used to collect, like, debris. But it's very rapidly become a tray that's just holding on to models that are waiting for me to give them a paint job. And I've been feeling increasingly bad about it. But at the same time, I'll get them when I get them. It's kind of like having a ton of books. You don't need to read all the books immediately. They can just sit there and be part of your library, right? So why can't the same be said about your minis? Now, in the same breath, if you are having a deleterious effect on your finances, and you are struggling to pay your bills because you keep buying 40k models, then you might want to rethink your priorities a bit. But thankfully, that has not been the case with me so far. I've been very good about not spending too much money, and my partner QB has been very good about making sure I don't spend too much money. Okay, Mataris, let's go ahead and get your facial hair the right color. What a cool... This guy's got a cool head. Like, that's a weird thing to say. But, yeah, Space Marines are old models from 3rd and 4th. Some of them are not tournament legal because of base sizes. You've been thinking about getting into orcs? Now's the time to start. The new launch box has some new sculpted orcs, and I think my favorite thing about them is not only do they have better model language in terms of like visibility and being able to tell which model is which, but they also harken back to Armageddon, so a lot of their models have some very cool old school touches. One fun thing about the base size things, at least to me, is that as much as it does kind of prevent you from using some models, you can always attach them to a larger base, and they would be good. But I think it's really cool that you've got like 3rd and 4th edition orcs, or 3rd and 4th edition Space Marines. That stuff is rare and neat to see for Age of Sigmar. You have Lizardmen. That's very neat. My partner also has a small collection of Lizardmen, and they are indeed very freaking neato. The Lizardmen are a cool army, and I think they're a great addition to a fantasy game. Actually, one of the things I'm going to be painting soon, the gentleman has a collection, he's into Conquest, I think it's called. Parabellum Games is Conquest, which is more of a medieval war game, closer to Warhammer Fantasy, but a little bit more down to, or a little bit more Earth. And they have Tolkien-style orcs riding dinosaurs, which I think is a super neat setup, and they look really cool. And I think after I finish 1 or 2 more commissions for him, that's going to be where he goes next. Okay. And so all I'm doing right here is I'm not trying to make it overwhelming. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to make it so that like little streaks of white pepper his rapidly graying beard, because I want to make it seem like, you know, he's aging. And I can't do that if the white is completely covering everything. Then he just looks old. But there, oh man, that actually turned out really good. I was going to say, but now, because he's got little streaks of it going through, it looks like little individual strands of peppered hair. And that's going to end up looking really good. And lo and behold, it do. So now we need to give his service studs a little bit of love. Because each service stud, as I understand it, equals 50 to 100 years of service. And since he was supposed to be a veteran sergeant, he's got 4 of them, which means he's either done 200 years or 400 years of time. I know there's more distinction than that, but that is what I most remember back when people were trying to figure out how long Titus had been around when Space Marine 2 starts. Because when they first revealed him and they showed his helmet, without his helmet on, he had like 2 service studs, I think. So they were trying to figure out, was he 2 centuries old? Was he 4 centuries old? Or, I mean, 100 years old? I don't remember. I just remember it being a deal. Okay. And same thing for him. We're going to go back and paint his not his cowl, his harness, his body glove harness that cradles his neck. I'm going to go ahead and paint this. And I think I accidentally grabbed the one that was already lighter. So we're going to knock that back down a bit. Very cool. Another streamer plays that. I've thought about getting into it, but again, the monetary constraints of being big into Warhammer and like not making as much money as I would like to make at my age has prevented me from getting into other war games. Otherwise, I would like be digging into oh my gosh, what's it called? I'd be digging into Necromunda, I'd be digging into Blood Bowl, I'd be digging into Conquest. There have been quite a few games that I'm interested in playing, but just haven't gotten around to because it's just, like, I can't afford it, man. I can barely afford to keep up with Warhams. And it doesn't help that most of my friends don't have the same kind of free time discretionary money that I do. So it's like if I want to get into one of those hobbies, I'd have to basically fly solo. And honestly, I don't want to disparage it because I like it, but the actual act of wargaming isn't what I get the most joy out of. I enjoy the painting of the models, I enjoy the social aspect of getting to do something kind of neat with my friends. And if my friends aren't involved, it really kills my interest. And so I guess the next step would be to make more friends, which is what you can do at a local game store. But it's like, but I like the friends I have, and I don't get to spend enough time with them. Hey, Dark Volt, good to see you. Howdy, 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 howdy. I'm surprised you're still awake. I'm sorry about the constantly shifting and focusing. I think I'm painting things that are way too small for the camera, and so it is struggling mightily to pick it up. Which means I think after I finish Mataris' head, I gotta move on. But yeah, you just woke up. Very cool. So this is Sergeant Mataris, the veteran sergeant from the Space Marine Amazon video. So the cool thing I got, the thing I'm very excited about, was a client commissioned me to paint Captain Titus and his retinue and 2 sets of Victrix Honor Guard. So I get to paint a whole bunch of Blueberries. So what I've got here is I got Mataris. I need to finish his eyes, and I've got Gadriel. And I'm going to touch up Gadriel a little bit because I just realized looking at him now, he looks incredibly haunted. But I think he turned out pretty good, all things considered. I just need to really zoom in and fix his eyes. So right now, I'm kind of finishing up on Mataris, and then I think I'm going to move on to painting one of the actual, like, humanoid minis, and we'll see how they can do. So how have you been, Dark Volt? I know we've kind of halfway kept up on the Discord, but that's been very few and far in between, so just kind of curious, how's your life been going? It's been a minute. I hope things are going okay. Okay, Mataris, your eyes, Mataris, I need them to show up. Mataris, your eyes, please, please, Mataris. I think I might have overdone it on Matara. You have seen the Titus retinue box at your local war store trying to get when you get the money. It is really cool, right? I love character models, and that one is just chock full of them, and they all look really good. I think other than, like, I don't think Games Workshop has had a whole lot of misses recently. I think by and large their models have looked good. And even the ones that people are like, Games Workshop really messed up with these models. I don't agree. I think by and large they've just done a really, really good job. So, I mean, admittedly, I also don't have very high standards. So, as long as it doesn't look like absolute garbage, I'm going to love it. And I think for the most part they've managed to keep that. The only model that I'll admit I haven't been super interested in was the Land Speeder, and that's just because I'm not super fond of the Land Speeder, and I still think they absolutely knocked it out of the park with the Land Speeder. And suddenly Mataris looks like the Undertaker. Doing okay there, getting more work now, so you're more busy distracted from your personal projects and you have more money. I love hearing that. I love hearing that things are going well for you. Okay. Now, I guess part of the fun of that, too, is that what it does is it makes your personal projects and the time you spend with them that much more important. Because something I noticed is, when I was... It might have just been a combination of mental health, but when I was at home more often, and when I wasn't working while I was a teacher, when I was taking all those sick days off, it meant I had a whole lot of time to paint. But at the same time, I became very listless, and it was like, I don't want to paint anymore. I don't want to do the... oh god, those ended up being really good. I don't want to do that anymore. I'm tired of it. When I was pre-ordering the box, started models there for us to look at. I got your hands on the Land Speeder. You like it? Very cool. I'm glad the Land Speeder meets your specifications, your desires, because I know that as a Dark Angels player, that means a lot more to you than it does to me. So the fact that it makes you happy makes me extremely happy. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually start painting Mataris's... No, I'm not going to do Mataris. I'm going to... Yeah, no, I'm going to do Mataris. I don't know what I'm going to do for those guys. So, this right here is, first of all, showing up a whole lot better. But secondly, this is Mataris's model. This is what he's going to look like. And where'd the box go? Does he have red? He does not. He is one color. So, don't know about Dark Angels, just UB nostalgic. Very cool. That's also very good. I'm glad to hear things are satisfying you, making you happy. Okay. So this is Mataris's model. I've already painted him. I've given him a little bit of paint. I started with a black base coat, and then I went with dark blue as kind of the shadow color, and then above the shadow color, I went with heavy blue, Azul Denso from Vallejo, because that one just ended up being a really good, like, base color for the ultramarine blue that I end up doing. So that's what I'm doing there. And for here, even though this is going to end up being more of a bone color, more of an ivory, I start with a brown to give it some nice shading. But yeah, I distinctly remember, like, I know you've been waiting for Ravenwing for a while, and so the fact that they're starting to make things that will help you better build your army in that way makes me happy. It's kind of neato. It's very neato. Okay, and as for the leather here, I'm going to mix in a little bit of that. I guess it's a magenta, so I can make this color offset and not be quite the same as the other color. But yeah, no, for me, things have been going pretty okay, I guess. Just chugging along at my job. Just kind of getting used to being in that position and doing the work that I do and being good at my job, which is still weird to think because I just remember being stressed out at my other job all the time when I was a teacher, and I was always like, am I good at my job? I'm not good at my job. And I haven't had that happening here. And that's made working a whole lot more enjoyable than it used to be. I love that they put his scabbard as part of his, like, the scallop. But yeah, it's definitely been okay. The other big thing, and I don't know if you were here when I mentioned it, I think you might have been, but my partner QB finally landed like a full-time job. And what that means for both of us is that we're going to start having money. We're going to be able to pay bills. We're going to be able to pay for some other things that we've just been unable to do so. Yes, that's right. I think I might have mentioned it elsewhere. But, yeah. And the best part to me, and again, this is stuff I've probably talked about, but I'm just so damn happy for her, is that it's work that she had doubts about being good at many, many, many years ago. And now she's got basically the field of that job, like people who work in it daily, being like, please come do this job for us. You're so good at it. We want you here. And it's really rewarding to see her be rewarded for just being her and being really good at what she does, whether previously people believed it or not. And it's been nice. It's been validating. It was an anxiety she had for as long as I knew her, and so to get this kind of validation, it's just like, no, screw you guys. You cannot say anything in my brain anymore to make me think that I am not enough for this job, because I very clearly am. So kick rocks, no socks, and eat it. So yeah, I'm very happy for her. And additionally, because of her previous education, her pay scale was able to start at a higher rate. So that means she's actually going to be making more money than we thought she was, which it's not going to put us in like this ultra comfortable position, but what it is going to do is it's going to make it so that we do have a bit more of a cushion, and that's just lovely. Because basically, once I stopped teaching and got out of that position, you know, as with a lot of other people who were not in as fortunate a position as I was, finances have been a constant source of stress and struggle. And so knowing that unless the bottom falls out really badly on this country, which, you know, I'm not putting entirely out of potentiality, we're finally going to be in a position where we're comfortable again. And we don't have to stress out about an unexpected charge or some other issue happening. At least not to the same degree that we would have had to. Okay, I have already forgotten what I was doing with this guy. I mean, I know I haven't been saying it much, but I'm basically just trying to hit a lot of the shadow colors with the browns and the maroons and the blacks to get that out of the way, so that I can start working on highlighting. And eventually, I'm going to have to pull out the Citadel game, or the Vallejo game color, Azul Denso, so that I can really get to work on giving some really nice highlights, because this I'm not peeking out at Azul Denso as the highlight color. I plan on going higher. This was just the initial base coat to give me an idea of where the highlights were. Okay, I'm very happy that it's long-lasting stress. Yeah, I mean, I think Darkvolt, as long as you've known me, I've been stressed out about money, and it feels good to not have to be stressed about money. I mean, we're still going to be a little tight until August, but you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel that we've been chasing for years now, and we've had many setbacks. And so it just feels good to not have to worry about that. Anyway, that's enough about my personal life. I also have to say that this is normally a very dark brown, and so the fact that it's not, it's coming across almost like a muddy chocolate is weird. But I mean, that's color theory, right? I caught your stream right before you started your current job. Yeah. I think when you I don't remember if I was still teaching. No, if I was working at Best Buy at that point, because I mentioned it before, but for a little while, for about a year, 9 months, I worked at the Geek Squad with Best Buy. And honestly, that job helped me regain some of my confidence, because I don't want to say it's lowered expectations, but it was a good place for me to prove that I wasn't just faking my way through my job like I felt with teaching every day. And it was weird not waking up and being stressed out about going to work. Geek Squad times, yeah, that sounds about right. And then while there, I got the job at the city. And what was really funny, actually, is we've got a gentleman right now who just got a job with the police department with the city as part of their tech. I accidentally stole his job because they had specifically opened the position for him. And the whole idea was like he had been in the mentorship for 3 months and he had gained a certain level of expertise, and it was just like, oh yeah, you're gonna be fine. You're a shoo-in to get the job. And then with my master's degree and my certification and my experience with Geek Squad, they were like, we got to give this guy an interview at least. And then I came in and I was good enough for them to be like, we got to hire this guy. And so unfortunately, the other guy who I'm now really good friends with, yeah, he was like, they were like, yeah, that position was open for him. And so it's just like, oops, I'm sorry. But he admitted himself later that, yeah, he was not ready for the job. And what I thought was kind of both ironic and probably a little frustrating on his part is I helped train him quite a bit in the time between then. But now he's got a job where he's making good money and he's happy. So yeah, everything's worked out. Okay, so I need to do his tummy. I need to do this dude's belly. So like I mentioned, all I'm doing right now is getting some of the shadow colors, which against this blue don't really look like shadow colors, but eventually his tabard is going to be kind of a bone khaki and or an off-white, and so that's going to act as a really good shadow color. Yeah, Astartes belly rubs. I cannot imagine an 8-foot-tall Astartes demanding belly rubs, which would admittedly be very funny. It'd be like a Rogaldorn, father, I crave the belly rubs. Okay, I left way too much water on this. Speaking of, if you guys have seen maybe a Space Wolf, exactly. If you've seen If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device or any of the memes from there, can I please strongly encourage you guys to watch Hunter the Parenting? It's made by the same people. Basically, the creator of Text-to-Speech, Alpha Busa, he got very, very concerned about how litigious Games Workshop was becoming with the creation of Warhammer Plus, and he decided to like put the kibosh on text-to-speech before Games Workshop came after him, because he had just had a kid, and his logic was basically, I might not be in the wrong here, and the stuff that we make is very clearly parody, but I don't have the resources to litigate this in court, and I don't want to be in a position where I have to sacrifice the well-being of my family so I can continue doing this. And he and the group went on to make... well, yeah, here's the thing. In all seriousness, the Mighty Yellows, and please look up Hunter the Parenting. Hunter the Parenting is... I'm sorry, my brain's potatoing super hard on me. It's World of Darkness, so it's more about vampire hunters and cryptids and the like. But it started with them kind of taking the same character archetypes and converting them into a group of misfit hunters. The big change is the Emperor. If you don't know, oh god, fuck you, AI streamers, you eat a dick. Eat the biggest dick. No, we're not warning you, we're banning you. Goodbye. I hope you sit on it and spin. But anyway, sorry about that. Hunter the Parenting is very good. The characters are allowed to be more rounded. You've been wanting to watch it. I keep on feeling you getting... You need to watch it. It's really good. They expand a lot of the personalities. The writing is spot on. I don't want to call it the loyalty, but the clear passion and knowledge they have of the lore, in the same way they did for 40K. It's so worth it. It's so incredibly worth it. To give you an idea, my partner is far more interested in horror and mythology and cryptids than I am. I kept trying to be like, we should play World of Darkness. We should play World of Darkness, because I figured that would be right up their alley, because they also love goth stuff. So the fact that it's kind of gothic punk horror was perfect. And what ended up getting them to want to do it was straight up watching Hunter the Parenting. So I cannot recommend enough watch Hunter the Parenting. It's so very good. There's a lot of it. They tend to waffle a lot, but it makes the dialogue feel natural. It makes it feel authentic, I think. But that's a me thing. Darkvolt, I don't know if you've seen Hunter the Parenting. I don't know if that would be up your alley, but the storytelling, the lore, the writing, it's all so darn good. One of my favorite little bits of trivia is that Louise Sugden, who used to be a Games Workshop painter, she's now Rogue Hobbies on YouTube, and she does an amazing job with all the cool stuff she works on. But she plays a character that's starting to show up named Blair, who's this psychotic gas mask wearing mercenary. Well, not mercenary. She's an agent for like an evil corporation, but her character is absolutely feral. And I've heard her described as a girl failure. You've watched neither Hunter nor Emperor's Speech twice. I think at this point, text-to-speech might cause you to roll your eyes a little because so many of the jokes have become so deeply ingrained in Warhammer culture. I really, really like Hunter the Parenting. It's something that I look forward to every time they release a new audio log because I feel like their writing is just so good. And it's very funny. It's very funny, it's very well written, it's very smart. I do like that they didn't just try and rely on the tropes they had built in text-to-speech. They take the characters in new directions and they subvert some expectations with them. It's very good. I also appreciate, and this is just a personal thing, that they gave the voice actor for Rogel Dorn a character that's basically Rogel Dorn, and he's the reason I became an Imperial Fist fan, because the text-to-speech rendition of Rogel Dorn is just so funny and so good. I mean, I don't know how much you know about Rogel Dorn's characterization across the lore of 40k, especially the more recent stuff, but he's always portrayed as like very stubborn and very direct and very practical. And they kind of took his character and pushed it up to 11 in all of the best ways in text-to-speech. And then with Dor, the character he is now, they've pushed it even further into funnier spaces. But yes, it's just all very good. I can't gush enough about Hunter the Parenting and how good it is. I too wish to go fast. Yes, exactly. The character that Rogel Dorn is in Hunter the Parenting, he's not as dopey. He's more human. But he's more human in a way that would make sense if Rogel Dorn were more human. And if you're into the nostalgia bit, it takes place in 2006, so they definitely have some fun references to stuff that was popular in 2006. I think at one point, Magnus's proxy Marcus mentions having a Nokia N-Gage, which isn't a device I've thought of since 2006. But yeah, no, I can't gush enough about it. It is a phenomenal piece of work, and the fact that they've taken what was essentially a tongue-in-cheek parody of one system and turned it into a clearly very loving and very well-made and well-written story for something completely different impresses me to no end. They just recently did an audio log that I think was almost 2.5 hours, and it was backstory on a character who had died in a previous episode. And he was originally just kind of this one-note character, and then it fleshed him out so well and made him into one of the fandom's most beloved people. So yeah, it's good writing. It's very good. Okay, that being said, they have a playlist of the video. Yes, they do. Now it's time, I think, to move on to getting some of the cloth done on him, which is going to have to be done in stages. So we're going to mix some of the ivory with some of this burnt umber. I will say the animation is janky, and that's fine. That's part of the charm. What ends up happening is as they continue doing the show, the animation gets better and more distinctly them. It's kind of like what happened with text-to-speech, where it started off very kind of stiff, and as they learned how to manipulate the characters more, it became more lively. And that's very much what happens with Hunter the Parenting, as their animation crew kind of gets more familiar with how to animate them. But yeah, I think the first episode is by far the shortest, and then you're kind of in for a wild ride, but it is definitely something worth watching. And it's a huge reason why today I still want to do like a full-on long play World of Darkness game with my friends. Because that was a system I always liked for its push of narrative participation versus mechanical like breaking of the game. And I don't know, I want to play more games like that with friends. With friends is a... Okay. So, all I'm doing right now is taking some ivory that I've mixed with the burnt umber, and I'm just kind of trying to make highlights on the risen parts of the cloth. And I'm not being very clean with it right now because I'm just trying to get the blocking down. Something that I'm trying to be better at, and something I'm trying to learn how to do, which I've seen a lot of very, very good expert painters do, is they'll put down these very chunky blocks, and then as they finish with them, as they start really distinguishing the highlights and everything, they'll just kind of blend it all together. And I watched, oh my gosh, what's his name? Not El Miniaturista, there's Flame On Miniatures do it, and he makes it look like magic, because he at first starts with these huge, obvious blocks of color, and then he begins to kind of work them together and blend them together, and then suddenly they become these buttery smooth, absolutely stunning looking transitions between highlights and shadows. And it's just like, how did you do that, you wizard? How did you make that work? And I mean, the answer, of course, is, you know, years and years and years of practice, but it's just like, man, you're good at this. You should get an award. And then you remember the guy's a Golden Demon winner, and it's like, oh, he did get an award. He got an important award that showed how good he was at this. So all I can really do is continue to chug away at it until I eventually unlock those skills for myself. Now at this point, this is just pure ivory, and so it's definitely coming across with a much brighter highlight. And I think I just committed a cardinal sin here, because I basically covered... Yeah, it was weird seeing him get a Golden Demon. I was like, oh my god, I know who that is. I do love that he entered as Flame On Miniatures too. Most people enter with their real name, and he was just like, nope, I'm going with my handle. I definitely think I committed a little bit of a cardinal sin here, because ideally with highlights, and you might already know this, but with highlights, you want to cover a little less than the previous part, because it's supposed to be light reaching an apex. And it looks like on that part of the robe, I just went ahead and went over the whole thing. But that's okay. Actually, that looks pretty darn good from the camera angle, so I'm going to stop complaining about my own work. Okay, so we're going to do just a little bit of that. And see, that is the other thing. When you're working on it, you're your own worst critic. And so it becomes really hard to see how good you're actually doing until you step away from it and come back. And that's something I've really noticed is... You know, I think at this point I have a pretty good eye for technique, even if I can't do it all myself. But I've noticed that when I look at models that people have done that they're anxious about, and I go, holy crap, that's amazing, that looks fantastic. And I stick to that. I think their models look great. And it isn't until later when I really put my eye up against it that I notice some of the, I don't know, rougher or less refined edges. And it doesn't take away from how freaking good the model is. But meanwhile, when you're painting your own stuff, you look at every little mistake and you're like, ah, fuck, that's going to ruin the model. It makes it look terrible. Everyone's going to see that and be like, Jesus, why did you do that? And I guess it's just, you know, be easy on yourself. Be nice to yourself, guys. Don't be too harshly criticizing. You're not painting to survive here. You're painting for fun. I also was getting text just now on the social media, so I'm curious what that was. I will be right back. I'm still here, but I will be right back. block them. Click on name and ban. Oh no. QB is also streaming, and the person they are getting bots in their stream, and that's evil and awful. And so I told them to ban the bots, cause fuck them. Okay, and now same thing here, just little bitty highlights all the way down. And again, all these highlights are going to do is just kind of give a little bit of an idea of depth, right? That's all you really want. You're just trying to create an illusion of depth, of greater depth than the model actually holds. And that's kind of that's where like the real artistry of this comes in, is how much can you fool a viewer's eye into believing that what they're seeing is more real than it actually is, that it's not a miniature, that it's a mini scale of what you're looking at. And that may not be your goal. That may not be what you want to do with minis, and that's perfectly fine. But for me, at least with where my goals are, that's kind of what I'm working on, is how well can I fool the eye into believing that there's greater depth and greater detail than there actually is. And so that's what I'm gunning for. That's what I'm trying for. And this whole thing, this whole me doing these videos or doing these streams is me just learning how to do that and figuring it out for myself. And also vibing. Because vibing is cool. And just on another note, for anyone who... I don't know, how fooling the viewer into thinking they're looking at not just plastic. That is absolutely correct. How's the audio on the music? I thought it was fine, but I don't know, because I completely buggered the sound mixing, and I honestly don't know at all what anything sounds like anymore. It's all just kind of happening. And also, I apologize if you're not into hard rock or Yakuza music, but I really like the soundtrack from Yakuza, so that's what I'm painting to. The music is very quiet, but I can hear your voice well. Okay. Okay, so what happened when I first started was the music seemed to be a lot louder than it was, so I'm going to do this. And that might turn the music up just enough to be more laudable. Okay. But yeah. I will say, on a completely irrelevant note, because my brain right now is on the fact that I can actually start planning for future finances, and that I basically get to be a giant friggin' kid again. Okay, why is it not focus on the dude? Focus on the dude. Oh, I see what the problem is. I need to back further up. So what I think needs to happen is, I mentioned this before, but my rig camera phone used to be on the ceiling. I had it sitting in a ceiling beam. And I took it down because I thought it was too far away, and having to zoom was messing with the focus. But as it turns out, that was the one thing keeping everything kind of in place and working. Because right now, as I'm trying to like go closer to the camera, it keeps getting really fuzzy. So I'll probably have to change that for next time. But one thing that I found that I'm very interested in getting right now is an AYN Thor, which is a portable handheld emulator that's basically shaped like a DS, but it has a Snapdragon processor in it that is way too powerful for what it needs to do. And so it can play up to Switch games. The only thing preventing it from playing like the full library is that coders and people who are building the emulators to play it with haven't cracked the code yet for Switch games. So it's like I'm getting older, and my desire to play modern games is dwindling faster than my just general energy levels. So my thought is can I play Yakuza? If I can play Yakuza, then I don't need any other games. And as it turns out, the answer is yes, you can play Yakuza on these things. So my goofy little brain is like, well then, if I can play up to Yakuza on these things, I want one. I want to play my Pokemon. I want to play a bunch of games I haven't been able to play in years because of you know, the consoles dying out and me not wanting to spend money on Virtual Console. So at some point, I'm gonna buy myself a souped-up Game Boy or Nintendo DS, and I guess just be able to play whatever I want, like the crotchety old man I'm gonna become. But yeah, it's called an AYN Thor. They also make one that's more like PS Vita sized called the Odin. But I've always thought that like the PS Vita and the Switch and anything that's really wide like that, it feels like I'm holding a cutting board, and I'm never comfortable playing games on it. But then again, my first handheld console was a Game Boy, so there is that where it's just like I'm used to crunching my hands together and looking at a tiny screen. Having one that's more expansive just feels like I'm holding a tablet, which feels weird. I did not grow up with tablets, and when I finally got them, I was already a fully grown adult, and they just have always felt awkward in my hands. For a little while, I considered getting a tablet specifically to be a window into my gaming PC and hooking up like a Bluetooth controller to it and just playing games that way. But if I were to do that, tablets are expensive. Even the cheap tablets are expensive, and I would want it to last for a good while, and it's not going to if I get a cheap tablet. So it's just like, okay, I guess getting the AYN Thor makes the most sense. Okay, time to do a little bit of something I'm not very good at, and that is glazing. So what I'm going to do here, actually, you know what? I've got something specifically for this. What I normally do with glazing, and what you're supposed to do with glazing, is water it down, get it down to it's really watery and really thin, and then kind of gently blend in the darker and the lighter. And I'm really bad at that. So what I'm going to do instead is I have this. I have this stuff. This mark means nothing. What this is a dropper bottle full of airbrush thinner. And airbrush thinner brings it down to a consistency that's basically glazing immediately. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to pour a little bit of airbrush thinner onto one of the brass pennies that I have in my wet palette, and then I'm going to get a better brush, and I'm going to dip it in that and mix it with two of the colors, and I'm going to try and use that to blend a little bit. Right here, because this is way, oh my goodness, this is just way too stark for my liking. And so I figure if I can hit this at least a little, and I can blend it just a bit, that'll get rid of what's causing me some consternation, which is that it's all the same color, which is a really dark shadow, and that feels bad. Still have not a chance to get me airbrush thinner. It's worth it. I bought Vallejo airbrush thinner, and I bought it for the airbrush, but then I didn't realize that that's a friggin' lie. Vince Venturella realized that it's really good at thinning paints. God, don't ever let me take credit for something the mighty Vince Venturella came up with. That is the height of vanity. So yeah, it's worth getting simply because even if you don't use an airbrush, it does such a good job of thinning down your paints without making them like runny, and it doesn't have that same coffee staining issue that that water has. So you can actually get a lot of really cool stuff done with it in terms of just blending. And so that's what I'm kind of trying to work on right here, is to just kind of get everything into a unified color so that my my spots look a little less like messy. But yeah, I'm back to using the very slim brush because I don't want to leave big globs of fluid anywhere. All I want to do is take a little bit of the liquid on this brush and mix it in everywhere else. And just kind of have it go across until it creates these very thin feathered layers of like transition, and that should kind of help blend it a little bit and make everything look smoother. And again, not something I'm great at, something that I'm working to be better at, you know? Now, thankfully, the level of detail I'm going through already far outstrips what I did for this client's Gilliman. And so, like I mentioned before, pretty much anything I give this person is going to look freaking amazing. Partially because I'm a good painter, and partially because I've improved greatly since I last worked for them. So, they're going to be pretty darn happy with whatever I happen to hand them, and that's kind of what we're going for. Is practice some skills knowing that I'm already well elevated above what they're expecting. And I'm not sure how well it's showing up on the camera, given that I can't keep this thing far enough away, but my hope is that I can push that shadow back a little bit higher up on the folds of the tummy and give it a little bit more of a transitional highlight down to the part that's actually catching the light. And it looks like by and large I succeeded. And see, honestly, this is the thing I'm too impatient to watch on stream, so kudos to you guys. I hope you're doing something more productive and fun. But, hey, it's this song again. Which, again, I love this song. This is probably one of my favorite songs from Yakuza, but this... Oh, okay. Nope. It's one I've heard quite a bit recently. Okay. That looks better. One moment, please. Oh, it's all the same color. That's kind of lame. I think what I'm going to do with this part right here is I'm going to make it gold. It's not gold, but it's going to be gold. This is going to be gold. This is going to be gold. Actually, I have the colors for making metal right now. So I think I'm going to try and make some metal. One big thing about this project that I'm, like I said, I got some more work, but after blocking the colors, I'll take out my painting stuff and work on some more bugs. Ooh, that's right, you got the Tyranids now, don't you? You got those Tyranids that, I think you said you found them? Those cool Tyranids? And you did some beautiful work. See, the thing that I always love about seeing your stuff, Darkbolt, is you got such great color selection that everything you do pops. And it's always fun to look at, because I always get like a little feast of the eyes whenever I get to see your stuff. And that makes me really happy. I think, and this isn't to disparage anyone else on, in like the little Discord we got, but I think I love seeing what everyone's coming up with. Don't get me wrong. I love seeing Sindarius's armies. I love seeing whatever crazy terraining Montravan is doing. But like seeing the paint jobs you come up with, they just give me the warm fuzzies, because yours are always so vibrant. They're like this cool middle ground between like the old school way of painting and the current way of painting, and it just makes me happy. And yeah, so there's that. At the same time, you got like Shiny Mew Paints, who does those incredibly vibrant colors of their own, and that's fun to look at. So again, I don't want to disparage anyone else who posts on the channel, because I love seeing all of the art from the different people, but there's something about your art that just makes me go, oh boy, every time I see it. So there's that. And then I see that my Discord membership has dropped to 0. Yeah, I don't remember if it was your stuff in particular, but I do know that, like, I originally started getting into painting more vibrantly because of Philon miniatures, and because my original painting style was very grimdark. It was like, oh, I want everything to look grim, like it's on a battlefield. And while I still love that look, I think between like seeing your stuff and seeing some of the old stuff and seeing how Philon Miniatures paints, it's like, man, Hyper Vibrant is freaking awesome. And it's not like Hyper Vibrant in a way that makes everything garish. It's just the colors pop. It makes it look more fantastical in a way that Ultra Realism kind of doesn't. And so while I still love Ultra Realism and I still love the Grimdark, I just have a lot of fun seeing like hyper vibrant colors on these little dudes. Okay, what was I doing? Oh yeah, this guy. I was about to say my brain potatoed again and I forgot what I was working on. Okay, and next, now here's something weird I've been doing. I've been using Ivory, this off-white. Actually, no, you know I should be using is Ice Yellow. I've been using ivory as kind of an off-white, and so maybe the icy yellow will do the job for me. I also have to say, and this is again me bouncing from another topic to another topic, but I'm really frustrated that I got into RGG and Yakuza games like right as they started making absolute dog shit decisions. And I guess I didn't really get into it right as they started doing it because, you know, everyone's starting to make dog shit decisions. You've been painting Space Marines for so long, it's nice to get a break painting something new. Yeah, that's oddly enough, not necessarily Space Marines, but I distinctly remember when I decided to start painting Death Guard, my buddy who had gotten me into mini painting, he was like, I'm excited to see what your Death Guard are going to look like because you've been painting things like Tau and Space Marines for so long that your painting has gotten really organized, it's gotten really clean, so getting to let loose and paint something that's very clearly messy and gory and gross, I can't wait to see what you come up with. And lo and behold, my Death Guard ended up looking freaking awesome, so there is that. But yeah, I was pretty frustrated to see that RGG, which was starting to gain this reputation of being a compassionate studio who made compelling narratives about, you know, people bettering themselves and helping those who need it, have really managed to fumble the bag really badly over the past year or two. And it's just like, man, I liked you guys, and now I can't say that I do. And I do wonder how much of it was because of Yokoyama or not Yokoyama, the other one, Nagoshi leaving, and how much of it was just like our times, you know, the times, just how things are going. Because like so many of their games have a core story of compassion and of being good people in bad places. And it feels like they weren't really doing that, and they haven't been doing that recently. And it's just like, man, I really like the Yakuza games. I was hoping I could continue liking the Yakuza games. And now it's become a thing of, I like the Yakuza games that I've played. I can't say the same about the one that I haven't, and the ones that are coming out. That was another thing. I was super excited for Stranger in Heaven. And then it was like, hey, let's resurrect Tupac again, because that seems correct. And it's just like, man, we need to stop. We need to stop. Oh yeah, and then I don't know if you guys saw what happened with Crazy Taxi, but they just straight up admitted they used AI for concept art, and it's just like, ugh. Well, that's okay, I guess. I didn't need to play that game. Yeah, so I'm actually not sorry, but if you are in the viewing audience and you happen to be a supporter or a proponent of AI art, I'm sorry, but we are never going to see eye to eye. AI art is garbage and is actively creating so many problems and being so awful for the industry in all of the ways. But that's me kind of proselytizing. I'm pretty sure that if you're watching me, you're already aware of that, and you already believe that, and I don't need to score brownie points by emphasizing it even more. Okay, so what I'm doing here is, this is my attempt at non-metallic metal, and the way I've kind of been taught to do non-metallic metal is very similar to the way that I do regular shading. It's just a matter of the right colors, and in this case, it's always about, like, as you go higher up, since you're trying to find a brightest point, each of your, my god, that's a tiny focus, that was neat. Each of your subsequent highlights should take up less space than your preceding highlights, because light is going to find a brightest point on a piece of metal. And so you really want that point to stand out as being the brightest point. Otherwise, you just kind of get a soft blend, and that's fine if that's what you're going for. But if you're trying to go for non-metallic metal, it really makes it fail to read as non-metallic metal. You want some points that are very tiny to be extremely bright, because that is where the light source is hitting it the most. And then you want other parts to be extremely dark because the light source isn't hitting it there at all. And again, this is stuff that might already be well known. I know for a fact I'm fairly late to the party, and non-metallic metal is no longer the flex that it used to be, because we have an incredible community who goes out and teaches people stuff. But I still think it is a cool skill to learn, and it is very much worth learning because it teaches you so much about light placement. And as I've stated before, I think I'm a pretty good painter. I think I'm pretty good. Not great, not amazing, but pretty damn good. And I still struggle with non-metallic metals because my understanding of light placement is pretty poor. But it's something that you can always continue working. Everyone still has their own style. It's interesting to watch other people. That is true. That is also very true. Not everyone's style is going to be the same. And it's one of my favorite things that QB has said, and it's really kind of gotten me to reevaluate how I see people's interpretations of things. And that is, a story is never finished until everyone's had a chance to tell it. And I think I've mentioned that before, but I think it's such a profound thing to say because, I mean, it's true. Not everyone's going to tell the story incredibly well, but everyone should get a chance to tell it their own way. And that includes certain skill sets, like non-metallic metal, or, you know, like volumetric lighting, or, you know, retelling of certain fables, or what have you. And it's something that I've thought on a lot over the last couple years. And it's just like, you know, these older versions of it still exist. And they're not going away. And so, the fact that someone is making a version of it that you don't like doesn't suddenly invalidate the version you do like. And that's just something that we should keep in mind whenever we see something come out that isn't directly tailored to the things we enjoy. You know? And of course, the internet is full of people whose job it is to manufacture rage so they can get their sponsorships and their engagement. But at the same time, just remember that that is what they are doing it for, right? It's so difficult to be happy nowadays, and it is because everything seems to be tailored to piss you off. And so, finding your joy, finding your moment of zen, that's the important thing. My moment of zen is painting little homicidal maniacs, apparently. Yeah, F rage baiting. It's so bloody obnoxious. I mean, that's the point, though. They're trying to get a visceral reaction out of you, so you either yell at them, or you talk with other people about them, or you engage in some way, right? And it's like, I can choose to not do that, and so that's what I'm going to do. Okay. What I'm going to choose to do instead, you left pictures in Discord when I have time. Oh boy, I'm going to finish this belt buckle. A big ass belt buckle. And then I'll go ahead and hop on the Discord and see what cool stuff you've got to show me. Okay, and see, this was a little more uniform than I wanted on the buckle, but on the clasp, but on the actual end cap, it's turning out pretty okay. And that's because I did not do a good job mixing the colors on the brush. Okay, let's see what we got. Let's see, do I have a pictures? I don't have a pictures. What is wrong with me? I have a to-do list. Where'd my gallery go? Where did my gallery go? Window capture. Wait, window capture? I don't have window capture. Window capture. Oh no, window capture. Let's see, what do we have here? We have a showcase. Oh, look at that! Holy shit! I'm sorry, but golly, that is a very vibrant blue. Holy crap, that looks good. Oh, that made me happy. Okay, where's more? More. Give me more. There's the initial one. And then there's this one. Then there's this one. Your basing work is always, like, just on point. that's the other thing is, and that's something I'm trying to get better at, is I want to get good at the basing. I can speak. Army Painters, War Paints, Royal Blue. I think I might have had that color at some point. So boom, and then let's make it bigger, and then let's do this. Look at that bad boy. Fanatics. Okay. Yeah, because they don't sell war paints anymore. It's all Fanatics, which is good because their Fanatics line is fantastic. Look at that boy. That's the new model, isn't it? They had another one and they replaced it in the last edition with these guys, and they look incredible. I love their new models. I also love how like bug-like that looks. That's freaking neato. That's a good looking model right there. And see, this is why I have a hard time with 40K in general, is they keep releasing shit and I keep wanting it, and that's not fair. I feel personally attacked that they keep doing this to me, and I need them to stop because I can't afford everything. But yeah, look at that. That's freaking phenomenal. I do love how black and blue looks on top of each other. I think it's a great series of colors. And look, this other angle. Yeah, that thing, if I saw that, I would probably, like, if I saw that at the foot of my bed, I'd probably scream. Awesome job. That's some really good looking blue you got going on there. Those, like I said, the vibrant colors, they make me happy. What anyone think of the wallets? It's like, right? That's exactly what it feels like. It's like, please, no, I can't afford you. Okay, we're gonna move into some gold. And honestly, I don't want to say I'm disappointed in the progress I've made tonight, because I'm not. But at the same time, I was hoping to make more. So, we're going to do some gold on this gentleman right here. But we're going to do some gold with not that one. That's way too big a brush. Okay. Now, the way I do gold is apparently wrong. Because I don't actually know how to do gold. I've seen many videos and they start with like a brown base and then they work their way up from a brown base, but every time it always ends up looking wrong, and I think it's just kind of a practice thing. I go from gold into Averland Sunset, which is kind of a ruddy orangey yellow. It's also the baseline color that they've been using for Imperial Fists for a long time, so it's just one I started using. But again, the idea is you take up less space with each pass that you do. You use Royal Blue and Dragon Red for the two areas, then mix the flesh is a mix of both, and you just mix them more as you go lighter. So you've got a really nice graceful transition between your blues to your reds, which is genius, of course. Okay, but yeah, so I'm just kind of doing this Averland Sunset brown mix, which kind of, I hate to say it, but it kind of looks like poop. But yeah, so that's just gonna hit this and create kind of a highlight right there. And then as I continue working it, as I continue going up in color, again, I'm just going to diminish the target of coverage, and it'll slowly create a highlight color, and hopefully I'll have enough distinction between the lows and the highs that it reads as a shiny metallic as opposed to a stinking mess. And thankfully, it's a little easier to do on more textured spaces, like on the chest plate, the chest emblem, because it already creates the shadows for you. As long as you keep the brush away from them, you can get quite a bit done and get a lot of that shading done for you where you don't have to think about it. Now, the other fun part about doing Bataris is eventually I'm going to have to attach a shield. I didn't attach it with this run because I wanted to have access to everything. For the armor pellets, you want to finish off with occasional stripes of full blue and full black. That's going to look really good when you get there. I cannot wait to see the pictures of that. Okay, same up here. Oh man, I'm muffed up. Okay, we're going to take a little bit off of... There we go. And same thing, I'm just going to take, all I'm doing is trying to get most of the coverage to hit on the ridge of the chest plate, to the best of my ability. And again, don't be your own worst critic. Realize you're going to screw up, realize it's not going to be perfect, and just kind of pick it up and move on. You're always going to have bits that could be done better. And that gives it kind of a mustardy yellow look, which is almost what I'm going for, honestly. because I want this to have a subtle transition into the ruddy orange gold, orange yellow, that is Averland Sunset, and then that'll get highlighted up into a much more prominent, much better looking, like pale yellow, which can act as the highlight color. Now the other thing is that I apparently forgot to do the underside of his cloth, because it's still brown back there, but that's fine. Now, I will be honest, this is something I get kind of lazy with. For bigger things with a lot of texture, I don't actually follow these steps too closely. Like for his Iron Halo, I can almost guarantee you I'm going to get lazy with this thing. I just kind of dry brush it, which, in general, given how metal works, looks good enough. And for the sake of this, it'll probably be good enough. It's just a matter of making sure you're dry brushing from the right angle. Because if you start dry brushing up from down, then the light is going to hit at the wrong place and the halo is going to be lit from underneath, which it's not. Also, I do have to say, one of my favorite things that 40K has done was create the Iron Halo. I don't know about any cultural or religious significance to it other than that it is supposed to represent a halo. And I know a lot of old classical art from the era that they're kind of referencing had halos sitting behind religious figures, but in terms of the idea of wearing an actual iron halo behind your helmet is so wild to me, and I think it's so neat, and it's something that seems very distinctly 40K, and so it makes me very happy. I completely forgot to do some metal bits on him. With pure white, I can do that, and I have. You save the pure white for the very smallest dots almost whenever I do it, and that tends to leave it looking pretty good, I would say. But normally what I tend to do, Darkfall, is I go up to ice yellow, which when put on a metallic tends to be white enough, and then I might, like you said, I might do a dot of pure white. When I dry brush, I do go up to pure white, and I do the very lightest dry brush. I do the incredibly lightest dry brush because I don't want the white to overtake everything else. But it kind of does that same thing where the dry brush only touches the highest spots, and that leaves it looking pretty darn good in terms of creating a shine, because you've made the light the focal point at the very, very top. And so that does, gosh darn it, it does definitely help. And there we see the differences in ammo. Yeah, exactly. And that's the best part of it. Okay. Okay, that's too bright. That's way too high a step up. So we're gonna go into that. We're gonna do a little bit of that. We're gonna do a little bit of this, and we're gonna do a little bit of that. And we're gonna do just a little bit of a dinky doopy right here. Little bit of a dinky doobie right here. Now my biggest thing is, like, for silvers and metallics, I don't understand how artists get them to look so good, because it's like they start with this goofy, I don't want to call it goofy, but they start with this blue color that looks nothing like it's going to be metal, and by the end they've covered it so much and they've done so much with the accenting that it's like, holy shit, that's metal. And you can see the blue undertone and it's like, where did that come from? And that's kind of where I'm stuck on with, like, steels and whatnot, is just getting that beautiful blue undertone and shadow with a really vibrant, almost white shine on it to represent, you know, the metallic part of the non-metallic metal. So it's something I'm still working on, something I'm still learning. And it's something I will eventually obtain knowledge of when I fumble into it. But right now, it just reads as pure witchcraft and wizardry to me. Space Wolf Grey is your steel undercoat? I can see that, and I definitely get it, because I've seen that as well. But what always gets me, because Steel Grey, or like Space Wolf Grey has kind of a bluish undertone to it, doesn't it? So I can definitely see why using that would work really well as like a steel non-metallic metal. But yeah, they start with like a dark blue. That's what gets me, is like, how are you starting with that darker blue, and how are you getting all the way up to that brightness? You psychopath. But they're out there doing it, and so all I can do is just kind of hope I learn it too. Like, this sword, I am not going to try and hand do the non-metallic metal on that sword. What I'm probably going to do is an energy sword, not unlike the one I did for Kato Sicarius. Because, if I may say so myself, that is still by far the best energy sword I've ever done. And I would like to do something similar with these Ultramarines guys, given that they're for the same army. But it's just like, man, that looked good. Okay. Not painting space was, yeah, mostly using base to cover your glowing bit. Yes, it does. I have the gray that I have isn't that gray, but it's very similar. Okay. And another fun note, I just remembered, I'm actually not using Ice Yellow. Oh my gosh, how many versions of this song do I have on here? Oh, this is the Long Modumus theme, so yeah, we'll keep that. Let's see, I also need to finish this belt buckle because I got so distracted by your blue bugs that I forgot to finish the belt buckle. I moved straight on, I was like, okay, nothing left for me to see here. Okay. And yeah, the Space Wolf, I wasn't stunned, I was pleasantly surprised that the Space Wolf army was like their best-selling box ever. For a little while, because the new Space Wolves look so freaking good. And it's just cool seeing them like get their time in the sun. Okay, and you can see, like, for the most part the metal's starting to look good on some parts of it, but I can make it look even better if I don't screw this up. And so that's what I'm gonna try and do, is I'm gonna try not to screw it up. And so here it's just taking little bitty bits of light and really only hitting it where it counts, because that's where it's going to make it look really good. Okay, same thing over here. Just little motes of light where it would hit hardest. Okay. Just a little bit over here, just like a dot there, a dot there. And I don't know how this looks on camera, other than apparently very friggin' blurry, which is, God, this video is going to be useless. But like from my vantage point, this is working really well as kind of like a highlight to really drive home where the sun would be hitting this stuff at its brightest point. Or where the light source, not necessarily a sun. And see, at this point, my good Dark Volt, is exactly where I would start using that white, because the colors I'm using right now aren't getting it to that brightness that I want. And so bringing it all the way up to the white is what would really make this pop as a metallic. But honestly, I'm not disappointed in that. I think that ended up looking pretty darn good. So we're going to leave it at that, and I'm going to move back to working on the gold. And so now I think I've done that ruddier gold, so now I'm going to add a bigger chunk of Averland Sunset into the mix I already made, because I'm kind of skipping a step. I normally actually do an orange, but in this case, they actually made the effort dedicated Space Wolf models, so they had upgraded sprues. Yeah, I definitely appreciate it. I also love how they kind of dropped the hint about how intercessors were starting to use like tactical marine equipment, because I think they realized that as popular as the new intercessor models have been and the new Primaris models have been, there's still a very loud and passionate contingent who love the Firstborn stuff. And there really was no reason for them not to use Firstborn stuff. So with that one, seeing them give some of the Space Wolf models some of the Firstborn equipment it definitely paved the way to be like, hey, look, they can use Firstborn equipment too. And so that's why some of the new Intercessors have Firstborn equipment. And that just makes me happy. Because I like Beakies. And I like angry Vox grills. So that was a cool thing for them to do. Okay. The Red Corsair is now the regular. Exactly, yeah. The Red Corsairs kind of had to by dint of the fact that they were scavenging. But yeah, and they also didn't they also have scavenged Intercessor armor too, like Primaris stuff. So they've done a really good job of just setting all of that up, and kudos to them for keeping to their long-term plans and all that fun stuff. Okay. I might have gone a little too heavy-handed with the thinner there. I might have gone a little too heavy-handed with the thinner. But yeah, I'm, like I said earlier, and this wasn't just me kind of blowing smoke up Games Workshop's butt, but I really do think that by and large, they've nailed it with a lot of their model lines. Oh my god, speaking of too much water. Like, gameplay-wise, you know, Warhammer's whatever, but the models are going to be in my closet or my cabinet for forever. And the ones they've come up with look so darn good. That was another one. Speaking of Red Corsairs, that was another army that I really wanted to start. Because I was like, my god, those baseline troops just look so freaking good. And so I really wanted to have, like... I didn't want it to be Huron Blackheart. I know about Huron, and Huron's okay, and there's nothing wrong with him. I wanted to take his model and just make him like a custom character, and have an army of Space Marines that was like a custom warband. Completely custom. Especially since my Emperor's Children thing didn't end up working out. But it didn't happen. Too expensive. Didn't have the money. Too expensive. Wanted other things. And unfortunately, I think it was probably for the better, because my desire to do that has dropped off tremendously, and I'm probably just going to buy some Red Corsairs. You did manage to get the box, you're not going to touch it till you get the bug to make your Fallen. That is true. They're going to be great models for that, aren't they? But yeah, I think what I want to do instead of what I was going to do is I probably want to get the HQ guy, not the Huron Blackheart, but the just like the generic one, and turn him into an HQ, like a big old HQ, a personal HQ, and get like a set of the Red Raiders, and that's it, and just have that little warband. Now, one thing I did really like, and this is just because I love strong women, I love strong, violent women, is the Captain Sargota. I think she's awesome, and I ended up finding a Temu-style proxy of her that I printed, and I think I painted her too, and I didn't realize how much less detailed her podium was compared to the real thing, so I'll admit I'm a wee bit disappointed, but at the same time, I think she's a cool model, so I managed to get that, and that was enough to make me happy. Okay. So, as you can see, we have gone quite a bit from, like, that muddiness. I am said you didn't manage to get the Maelstrom book because eventually it was a Build-A-Bear rules for making your own heroes. I think they're going to expand that into the next set. That's my hope, is that in 11th edition, that the Build Your Champion thing continues. That, and I need to actually check to see... I'm scared of going to Wahapedia right now, because every time I've gone, it seems to be getting worse in terms of, like, advertisements and the amount of crap that's just on there, and I feel bad for the people who are maintaining it, because I feel like they're trying to keep it together, but it's gotten so miserable to try and navigate through. And I just recently had my identity stolen because I misclicked on something. I kind of don't want to test that again. Yeah, no, I think my understanding is that they're probably going to add that back in somewhere. And I agree with you. It would be such a bleeding shame for them to do that. But to be honest, I've been watching how they're releasing their 11th edition stuff, and I'll be honest, I don't understand it. I don't understand what the hell they're doing. they've got like some of the rules as part of one book, and then they mention in the book for some of the other more important rules, like, yeah, that'll be released later, or you'll have to go online to find it. And it's like, brother, what are you doing? James of the workshop, what the frick are you doing? And so, I don't know. I'm kind of happy that I've gotten out of 40K in that way, and that my desire to play it is extremely tempered. But at the same time, it's still frustrating because I still want to engage with that stuff and mess with it. That way, if I ever do play, you know, I have it. But if they're splitting it across 8 or 9 different books, it's like I can't follow that. Okay, and as you're seeing, I'm very lightly hitting the edges to indicate that that's where the light is hitting it. And again, look at you got your shades, you got your out of focus shadows because I need to fix the camera. Okay, a little bit more of that. And the thing is, I haven't actually gone that high up on the white. You never got into the room where the people keep playing because the door keeps closing on me. I'm sorry that that's happened to you, boss. If I lived closer, if we ever find a way, if I ever visit Europe in general, I'm gonna find a way to hang out with you at least for a little while. We'll play a game, you'll kick my ass, it'll be great, because I am, as the experts and the ancients call it, dog shit at Warhammer. I actually just, to give you an idea of how bad I am at the Warhams, my buddy who visited from across the country a few weeks ago, he doesn't play ever. He's the only person, I think, in his group that really enjoys Warhammer and collects it, and so he doesn't get a chance to play. He did not know how to play 11th edition at all. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. It is what it is, because you do what you do. But he beat my ass when we played, even though I've played multiple games of 11th edition at this point. And the biggest reason he beat my ass, other than him just being better than me at the game, is that I completely forgot that the Space Marines have Oath of Moment. And so while I was readily helping him along, remembering his rules and helping him remember his triggers, I spent every round just completely forgetting that Oath of Moment was a thing I could have called. And so yeah, if we ever get a chance to play, be prepared to slap me around like a small child, because that's exactly what's going to happen, and I'm going to have a great time, because I don't care that I got my ass beat. I got to play Warhams with a friend and watch his orcs do crazy things. So we both won that day. He just happened to win by points. But yeah, that's the part of Warhammer I enjoy. I enjoy the getting to hang out with friends. I enjoy getting to see dumb shit happen, and the clickety-clack math rocks, and all the jokes that make millennials. Oh no, you'll have to learn. No, you won't. I'll help you learn the rules at the expense of me knowing the rules. Actually, I've seen enough and I've internalized enough that by and large, I know the rules decently. I just don't remember them for myself. So yeah, if by any chance, because at some point, QB and I do plan on visiting Europe. At some point, we will have to play a game, and you will have to beat my ass. And to everyone else who has been watching and not paying attention to my rambling, I accidentally made gold. Look at that. I'm looking at my own monitor, and at least from the monitor, it looks pretty good. For anyone watching, if you would like to say, did I do an okay with the non-metallic metals and the gold? I think I did okay. I think I did fine. I think that's something I can be proud of. Now, one thing I want to do, honestly, is we're going to take a little bit of this yellow, and we're going to take a lot more of this ice yellow, because I keep forgetting ice yellow is a thing. Make things, how about doing a kill team game, because I was interested and you got a squad? I could do both, and yeah, sure, why not? I need to get a kill team. I take that back, I have a kill team. I have the orc, what's it kill team? The commanders. And I also have a Void Reaver Corsair kill team? Kind of? in that I have the Void Reavers, but I only painted like half of them as the kill term. Either way, there we go. And honestly, you know what? I think we can go ahead and put Mataris' head on. What do you guys think? I also have the Angels of Death, that is true. And eventually, probably by the time I'm able to visit Europe, I'm going to have the Death Guard as well. I will also say Kill Team's a lot more granular in a good way. I had fun playing it the like 2 times I did. But yeah, I think we can go ahead and put Mataris' head on there because I've covered everything that would be hit by paint, except for the Pauldron. And I think I can be delicate enough with the Pauldron. So let's go ahead and get Mataris' head on there. And then I'll cry when I realize that Mataris is not supposed to go on there. What the f... Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. I was like, why does he have a nubbin? And the reason he has a nubbin is because his model has a nubbin for to place him. So we're going to go ahead and put this on here. I'm sorry I'm not doing this on camera, but I don't want to mess this up. These aren't mine, so I want to make sure I do a good job with placing the guy's head. You know what I mean? I guess to do so, I first should go ahead and glue. Hello? Monsignor Adhesive, I need you. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I think my glue might be... Oh no, my glue! My glue! Give me a second, guys. I think I might have fudged up my glue. I think I might be... Am I out of glue? Give me a minute. I'll be right back. I'm still here, guys. I promise. I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still here. I don't have a whole lot of super glue left, and I think I'm not doing enough to, like, there it goes. I got the glue working. I got the glue working, guys. We're good. I got the glue working. Everything's good. Everything's good, guys. I got the glue working. Now, again, I'm sorry this is off camera, but I'm really worried about messing up Mataris' head. So we are not going to be doing that, and instead... And there we go. Oh dear, the camera, there we go. There we go, we got Mataris. I miss when I was here too, guys. Now, the good news, I'm not done with him yet. The armor has a base coat. It does not have any of the shading or highlighting I plan on doing. It has the base coat, so that is going to get more done to it. His head is going to get more done to it. Well, not his head. Yeah, his head's going to get a little bit more cleanup. Oh my goodness, it's QB, hello! That's really funny, I was about to finish up and I was going to be like, we should raid QB just for kicks and giggles, but here QB is. Hey QB. Your timing is immaculate because I'm about to finish up. I just got through painting one of the dudes. Well, I didn't get through painting him, I did some of the non-metallic metals and whatnot. But it is good to see you, I was just talking about how awesome you were. You already finished? I figured as much, we both tend to... We both trained ourselves to be done around 9:30, so there is that. And yes, it's Volt, it's QB. Now all I need to do is stream at a time when like Doigswift are streaming, and then I can raid into them. I got really excited the first time I ever raided, because I was able to raid into Doigswift, and it was back when they still had their cool raid animation, back when they first made it. But both of them were away from the computer, so I raided to an empty room, which felt some ways about, but that's okay. So let's see, what have we got here? What can I do? Let's see. Oh, Frankie Pixel Show is doing it. You know what? A moment. Let me check something. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Who should I raid into? Who should I raid into? I'm looking to see Doigswift will stream in about 7 hours. Okay, guys, we'll just chill right here, and we'll just wait for Doigswift. I can't do that. I got work tomorrow. Let's see. Who should we? I don't have a whole lot of people that are actually online. Let me see. Dungeon Lounge. I know them, but what are they doing? They're doing some crochet work. What's Frankie Pixel doing? I will be drooling on myself in about 7 hours. That is true. What is Frankie Pixel working on? Oh, Frankie Pixel's working on Look Outside, actually. So, I think no, I think I am gonna into the dungeon lounge because I'd rather give them some views. What backslash raid? Sorry guys, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Okay, so we're gonna do that, and I'm gonna get off of this, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that, and we're gonna do this. Okay, we are going to raid into the Dungeon Lounge. Okay, guys, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I'm hoping to do this more regularly. I've talked about that before, but I really do hope I can do this more regularly. I've got stuff I want to paint. I've got projects I want to share. I want to hang out. And I guess I'll see you guys later. Have a great rest of your evening, and bye-bye. Camera? There we go. Okay, bye-bye, guys.